So if you want to experience success without the stress, and if you want to learn about following your intuition, listening to yourself, your intuition being your inner tuition, then horse-assisted education could be for you. Why horses? Well, horses are prey animals, so it is vitally important to them that at every second of their life they are totally reading everybody else's body language within their herd. When you come and do a horse-assisted education course, you'll learn a little bit about herd dynamics, about what it is that makes horses so innately capable of being the litmus paper to your soul. Most people would describe a horse herd as a stallion with a bunch of horses following. It's not quite like that. You have the dominant female, the matriarch, and she's in charge of herd discipline and safety of the herd. She'll have helpers, so everybody in the herd is aware. Say they're grazing, you might see there's a mountain lion. Somebody will alert the dominant female and say, there's a mountain lion, looks like it's after dinner, and she'll make the decision in what direction the herd is going to run, at what speed and for how long, so that nobody wastes any unnecessary energy, but everybody's acting together. So she goes in lead position 1 at the front. The secondary mares will keep in at the sides so that the energy of the herd doesn't dispel out to the side and people don't know where they're going. Horses don't know where they're going. And the stallion, he goes in behind so that he can snap at heels and keep everybody moving forward, so he puts a lot of energy behind the moving herd, but also if the danger gets too close, he's in a position to be able to turn and fight. And it's very interesting if you look at a peer group of people, you can transfer this model onto how we also behave. If you look at a company or a family or a peer group, they tend to organise themselves into a similar sort of structure. So you'll have, take for instance, I don't know, Virgin Atlantic used to be, you know, Virgin Records with Richard Branson. Even though he's a male, he has a feminine energy of being able to see where he wants his company to go, what his vision, he's the visionary. But he'll have personnel and recruitment and accounts departments which will come not wanting to lead the thing themselves, but they'll lead their own teams in order to make the good of the herd move forward. So without them the company wouldn't work, but with them it all works as a perfect structure, with the CEO behind who's giving it the driving force, the movers and shakers that make the company go where it is that the visionary wants it to go. So similar sort of thing happens with the horse herd. And when you do a horse-assisted education course, some of the course will be centred on team work, and some of it will be individual. Because we have to remember that you can't actually be a leader of others until you've learnt to be a leader of yourself. And that's a really important thing with horse-assisted education. Most leadership courses that you go on will tell you that 93% of our communication is non-verbal and 7% is verbal. So why is it that we spend 93% of our time on the 7%, which is the verbal? Most of our communication is done by the spoken word when it comes to lectures, as you'll know, students. So the Greek word for horse is alogo, which means no words. So the ancient Greeks had realised that the horse communicates very effectively without using any words at all. And this is one of their biggest assets for us as a horse-assisted educator, or I'm a facilitator. The horses, of course, are your teachers. So when you first arrive for a session of horse-assisted education, you will meet the horses, get comfortable with them. It's not an equestrian, so it's nothing to do with horse mastership. This is all about people. So from a safety point of view, the facilitators will make sure that you're safe around the horses. All you have to do is go with the flow and learn from the feedback that the horses will give you throughout the day. You'll probably do a little exercise called breathe with, which any healer will tell you that how you are is very much to do with your breath, going with your breath, calmness of a situation. You'll hear people saying, breathe with it. So you learn to breathe with the horse, and you find when you're doing a breathe with exercise that the horse and everybody in the room just relaxes, and the horse, you'll see him dropping his head and saying, oh, this is lovely. And what you find you've done is you've keyed into the energy field of the horse with yourself. The wonderful thing about working with horses in this field is that they provide us with immediate 100% non-judgmental feedback. So you'll be asked to do simple leading exercises, and you'll be amazed by the fact that one person will do one exercise with one horse, and then somebody else might choose to work with exactly the same horse 5 minutes later, and the horse will behave in a completely different way. And it brings up all sorts of issues as to why that might be. And if you ask the person who's doing the leading what they were thinking at the time, you'll often find that their intent was different from what they were saying it was. So they might come and say, yeah, I'm going to lead the horse around these positions, no problem. But actually inside it's a big problem for them, and so the horse, what they're wanting to do is just not do it. And so the horse will just not do it for them because that's what their intent is. And it's wonderful to see people actually admitting to themselves that maybe I wasn't being completely congruent or honest or authentic with what I was saying I was feeling and actually what I was really feeling. Quite often we haven't recognised it for ourselves. The exercises and the feedback that you get are quite metaphorical, and quite a lot of the day revolves around being very attentive to the present moment. So forgetting what's happened in the past, what's happened in the future, but observing. If you're not actually doing the exercise, being an observer is just as important, because you will see the feedback that the horse is giving and be able to ask questions and learn a lot about yourself from observing other people doing the exercises. As you can see in this video is an example of an exercise we do called distance and closeness. And I can give you an example of a client that we had who came into the picadero, which is an 11-metre square, with the horse, and the instruction was to send the horse away as the matriarch would do in a discipline case. So you're not being cruel or anything else, you're just using your energy to send that horse away fairly, but with an assertive attitude. And then after you've sent the horse away, you're going to ask him to come close to you. So it's a bit like being a manager and being asked to ask one of your members of the team to go and clean the toilets, but you still want to have that relationship with them that they'll come to the pub with you in the evening, which is quite a difficult one for quite a few people to balance. It's who we are and being congruent leaders that impacts in the boardroom, in your job, in your day-to-day life. And it's not the position that we're in. The horse doesn't mind whether you're the managing director or the janitor. He's going to treat you exactly the same. Horse-assisted education is an experiential learning program. And I think it was Confucius said that I hear and I will forget. I see and I'll remember. If I do, I'll understand. And that's very much what we're about.